In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Garmin Edge 1030. I've been using this for about 3 months now, and I got this to replace my Edge 520, which has served me faithfully for about 3 years. However, as with any electronic device, the battery life has started to decrease a little bit, and I was training for some big events this summer where I knew I would be on the bike for quite a while, and I wanted to make sure I had enough battery life. Now, there are a ton of features available on the 1030, and I will not be going through every single one of them in this video. I just want to give an overview. I'll dig into a few features that I use so you'll get an idea of what this thing can do. Just a few quick specs of the Edge 1030. It weighs 123 grams, has a 3.5-inch display, which is the thing that I really like about the Edge 1030 is how much data you can put on the screen, which I'll show once I turn it on. Also, it has an IPX7 waterproofing, which allows you to ride in the rain with no worries. The 1030 has a 20-hour battery life, which, like I said at the beginning of the video, is one of the reasons I got it, because of that extended battery. And you can attach the Garmin Charge to the back of this, which is an external battery pack, which doubles the life of the battery. So instead of 20, you can get 40 hours of battery. And that attaches, like I said, to the back through the mount, which is a really nice feature. With the 1030, you can remove this cover and put in a micro SD card up to 16 gigabytes, is what Garmin says. Just to do a real quick comparison to the 520, first of all, you can see the size difference. And the 520 is 60 grams, which is essentially half the weight of the 1030. Now, I'll talk about at the end of the video the applications that I think work best for the 1030, because there are still some applications where I think the 520 is a little bit better than the 1030. And by the way, Garmin claims that the 520 has a 15-hour battery life. That has decreased for me over the years to where I get about 8 to 10 hours of battery. Other than size, one of the main differences between the 1030 and the 520 is the fact that the 1030 is a touchscreen display, whereas the 520 you have to use the buttons on the side. And Garmin's devices, some will have buttons and some will be touchscreen. I actually prefer the touchscreen a little bit better. And the last thing that I'll mention about the differences between these two is the maps loaded on the 520 coming out of the box are really basic. I had to download OpenStreetMaps to get more detail on the maps, whereas the 1030 out of the box has some pretty detailed maps already loaded. Now let's power up the 1030 and we'll dig into some of the features, and I want to show you the display on it. So to turn it on, you just hold down this button for a couple seconds. And by the way, the Edge 1030 is real easy to put to sleep. To just turn off the display, you can just tap the button and that puts it in a really low power battery mode. To turn it back on, you just touch the button again. If you want to turn the device off, you would hold the button down for a few seconds and you'll get an option here of either power off or putting it to sleep. So that's another way that you can put it to sleep. The first thing I want to point out on the main display is the fact that you can have different profiles. So I have cyclocross, gravel, and mountain. On my cyclocross bike, I have a power meter. So I have some power displays on the screens, whereas I don't have a power meter on the gravel bike. So I don't want to have something on the screen like a power display that I'm not using, so I have heart rate instead. Also on the main display is where you would go to navigation. There are two ways that I put in courses into the 1030. Ride with GPS and then using Garmin Connect, both of them on my computer. Lately, I've had much better success with doing the routes on Garmin Connect. Some of the routes that I've done with Ride with GPS, I've gotten a ride calculation error and it just gets into this loop where it keeps giving me that error. And I don't really know what the deal is. I haven't had time to really dig into it. The nice thing about doing Garmin Connect is that you can download from the app on your phone. So let me show that. So on my phone, if I go to the Garmin Connect app, I can tap up here and I can go to courses, find a course. So let's do this one, Northwest Gravel 75. And then assuming my phone is connected to the Garmin 1030, I can tap on this little icon here, tell it I want to download it to the 1030, click on done, and it sends it over to the Garmin. So if you wanted to do that course again, you would go to navigation, tap on courses, tap on your saved courses, and then we can find the course that I just sent over. Here it is, Northwest Gravel 75. And it's going to load the course into the Garmin. I can look at a summary of that course if I wanted to. I can look at the map, look at the elevation gain, that kind of thing. When I'm ready to go, I would tap on ride. It's going to load the course to get ready to go. And then it'll ask you if you want to navigate to the beginning of the course. I typically don't, so I would just click on the X. If you wanted to, you could click on the check mark and it's going to navigate you to the course. Now, when you're using the Garmin to see turns coming up, When you're on the map, you'll see your turns at the top. So even if you're a mile or two out from your turn, you'll see it at the top. If you're on another screen, any other screen, you basically, at the bottom of the screen, as you're getting close to the turn, you'll see some directions pop up. And I just want to mention, and this is the same thing with the 520, is after you load your course and you click ride, you still have to tap the play button to get your ride going to record. If you don't, it'll give you a little display that shows a play symbol to kind of remind you to hit that play button to start recording your ride. Real quick, I'll look at workouts, which is another thing I really like about the Garmin devices. So again, on my phone, I can plan out a workout. And so let's look at one of the ones I have saved here. So Zone 4 repeats HR, which stands for heart rate. I can put in different intervals, recovery, that kind of thing. I can send that workout over to the Garmin the same way I sent over a course. And if on the main screen, if I tap on the training button, I can go to my workouts and I can see those. So let's tap on this one, Power Zone 4 repeats, and it'll give me kind of what the workout is. And then when I'm ready to do it, it'll tell me to basically warm up until I press the lap key. So once I press the lap button down here on the bottom left, it will start that interval. Now, obviously I'm not riding right now, but it would give me my power number here since this is based on power. You can base it on heart rate, speed, whatever. It'll tell me in this interval that I have this time to go and I'm this far into it. And then it'll give me a little graph. So again, this is by power. So this one I want to maintain between 234 and 273. And it'll have a little arrow when I'm doing my interval of where I'm at. So it's a really nice display to kind of show you, again, where you're at in your interval so you can adjust your power, your heart rate, whatever. A couple more things that I'll show on the main screen. So like I said, you can tap on your history here. You can look at your rides and bring up all your stats. And then finally, on the bottom right of the main screen, you've got my stats. It'll give me my VO2 max, my training load recovery based on my ride today. So today was about 48 miles. You can use the Garmin Edge 1030 to determine your FTP, which you can base your intervals and such on if you want to. So you would do that by clicking on My Stats, clicking on FTP, and you could tap FTP Test, and it'll take you into the FTP test. You have to have a heart rate monitor or power meter in order to do that, but it's a really nice feature, and I think it ramps it up about every 4 minutes. You get into a higher zone until you just can't push it any further, and at the end of the test, which takes about 12 to 15 minutes, it would give you your FTP score. You can pull down from the top to go into some other settings. For example, if you tap on the settings icon, you can get into various features. I won't go again into all the settings because there are a ton of them. But if you wanted to set up your activity profiles, this is how you would do it. So you would click on the activity profile, and this is how you could set up your data screens. So I could click on data screen, and I could tell it what do I want on the different screens. So I can go to the layout of that one screen one. What's really cool is that if you wanted to swap some of the fields around, so I could tap here. Actually, I think I have to click on here first, and then I could tap on a field and then tap on another one, and it'll switch those. So that's kind of cool. So it makes rearranging the screen really easy. But you can see how many different fields you can put on the 1030, and that's what I love about this big display. If I wanted to change one of them, let's click here, I could tap it again, and then I could get into all the different choices. So elevation, gears, heart rate, power. And you can use this with an indoor trainer. If you have a smart trainer, you can do some stuff with that. I'm not going to go into it. Different things about workouts. So let's just tap on power here just to give you an example. Different power options. So you can do percentage of FTP, average 10 seconds. I generally use power, average 3 seconds when I'm monitoring my power. Just a few other things that I'll show in the settings area. So if I go to system, I can turn the tones on and off. I have them off right now, and the reason I have that is because it makes my dog absolutely freak out when she hears the tones. But you can change the display, you can change the colors, that kind of thing. It's got my battery percentage. I can change the brightness. It'll tell me what sensors I have connected. It will also give you text notifications when you're riding. I can do an auto reply. My wife texts me, are you gonna be home soon, or where are you at? I can just do these quick replies, be home soon, can't talk now, that kind of thing, running late, almost there, halfway. So again, real quick replies. The only thing about this is there are times when I will get a text and it will not show up in the 1030. It's actually gotten better. So maybe there was a software update somewhere on the phone or on the Garmin Edge 1030. The thing I really like about it is if I get a call. Now this is all assuming you have your phone, your Garmin Connect app on your phone, and it's connected to the Garmin 1030. But if I get a phone call, it'll show me on the screen who's calling, which is really nice because I can decide if I need to pull over and answer the call or not. A couple more things that I'll show when you pull down from the top. You can scroll over to weather, so it'll show you what the weather is. So I'm not going to go into how to connect Garmin to Strava. You have to do that and you have to star the segments. But once you do, you can see the segment. So as you're riding, as you're coming up to a segment, it'll let you know that you are coming up to the segment when you start that segment. So it'll say go. And then while you're doing your interval, or while you're doing the segment, I should say, it will show you how far you are from either your personal record. You can tap on the top of the screen and change either from PR to the KOM to the best time of one of your friends. So there's different comparisons that you can do as you're on a Strava segment. And again, you have to have starred that segment, but once you do, it's really cool. And you can also see on a map where you are relative to what you have selected at the top. Again, PR, your last best time, the KOM. And so it'll show you either how far ahead or behind you are, either on the map or just a data readout as you're on that Strava segment. Now I want to talk about the applications that I found best with the 1030 versus the 520. And I have to talk about mounting. So with the 1030, it works best if you mount this with the out front mount, which comes with the 1030. You can use the handlebar mount, so the smaller quarter turn mounts. The problem is when you put it on a mountain bike, the Edge 1030 is so big that it can actually move back and forth and slip down while you're riding. Therefore, I actually like the smaller 520 when I'm mountain biking for a couple reasons. One is because it doesn't pivot back and forth. It's lighter, it's smaller, it doesn't have as much leverage, and so it stays fixed on the bar. Also, when I'm mountain biking, I'm using the Garmin to more collect data as opposed to looking at the screen. If I'm doing a gravel ride or a road ride, I will be looking at the screen more often to look at my heart rate, to look at my power. So I'm using the 1030 more for feedback as well as collecting data. But when I'm mountain biking, I really can't look at the screen that much. I may glance down and just see what my heart rate is or see how far I've gone. So I really don't need a big screen when I'm mountain biking. So that's going to wrap up my review of the Garmin Edge 1030. I think for cross, gravel, road riding, especially bike touring, this is the best you can get from Garmin. Yes, it's a little pricey for $600, but there are so many features against a lot that I did not mention. Like I said, you can use it for mountain biking, but I would recommend using the out front mount as opposed to the ones that mount directly on the handlebar. Just keep in mind, if you do that on a mountain bike, I think you're going to put it in a little bit more of a vulnerable position. I haven't had a problem, but it's just something that you need to consider. Questions or comments that you have about the 1030, go ahead and drop those below. And if you use this device, let me know as well. What do you like about it? Are there any things you don't like about it? I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching.